Yeah, Elliot, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Pleasure to be with you.
Elliot is from a company called Prairie Street.
Yes.
And Elliot, tell us, what does Prairie Street do?
So Prairie Street is really two companies. We're a luxury kosher meat, soon-to-be fish company,
Right.
direct to consumer and working with private chefs. And we're also a media company. So we've made a big bet on original content, and we have a full-blown production team. And every Sunday, we're kind of the Kosher Food Network. We have more than 75 videos up that are professionally edited, filmed, and etc. So we want to give our clients confidence in the products and how to use it. And that channel at Prairie Street Co. is going multilingual this year as well. And then we have a direct-to-consumer kosher meat company of high-end quality that we ship everywhere nationwide, overnight, UPS, FedEx. And we specialize in working on a B2B basis with private chefs. So the people that are doing COVID really accelerated this market of people wanting a private event for 10 to 50 people or something like that, and didn't want to be with 400 or 500 people at the same event. And so many non-kosher, non-Jewish chefs kind of reinvented themselves to specialize in kosher cooking. So actually, even on our channel, we'll show you how to make moussaka, which is based on dairy, and we don't eat dairy and meat together, and we'll use a vegan yogurt or replacement products and teach like that. So we're trying to capture those culinary experiences that you might have, but keeping within the confines of kosher.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, I went out to lunch with some Jewish customers, and I was quite surprised. They said to me, dairy or meat, and I didn't realize that there was such a strong separation. And subsequently, I know. So that's really innovative.
Right. So we really have two regulators in effect. We have the USDA, we ship nationwide, so we're under the federal government. But then we have this Star K and VHF, and those are our kosher certification agencies. Star K is one of the top national, international companies, and that's what gives our clients confidence that the meat and it's a complicated product, from slaughter to processing to packaging to fulfillment, that it's all been under the supervision of the
So do you operate the factories as well?
So we are a subtenant of one of our clients, and we're in the process of moving into our own USDA facility as well. And we have two fulfillment centers, one in New Jersey and one in Florida as well.
Okay. So this is What the Warehouse show, and what we like to talk about is the supply chain challenges and pains that we have in warehousing and supply chain here in New Jersey. One example is the availability of staff and people. So firstly, how do you perceive the growth of your organization? Are you seeing growth?
I think we're in the process of scaling. It took like 3 years to build a super complicated infrastructure, and now we're scaling rapidly. The warehousing and storage, especially with super cold storage and food safety and integrity issues, has been a big struggle from the get-go, before COVID, during, and after. And I made certain bets during that process that basically the problems weren't going to subside, that they were in fact going to increase. So before seasonal times of the year, Passover, the fall holidays, I built a serious amount of inventory, assuming there was going to be supply chain issues.
Right.
But I think the warehousing issue is complicated because I think there's many factors. I used to work on Wall Street for 20 years. I traded, and I think the hedge funds and financial institutions and REITs have gotten in the real estate business in a very big way, and they've nationalized their thing. So we were looking at a facility in Queens, 20,000 square feet, and it's basically Netflix at $32 net square foot, with 200 carpenters making movie sets. So their thing that they care about is location, and the whole industrial components of New York have completely changed because of how the real estate market going private, and warehousing and national warehousing, and the blow up of e-commerce. So I think it's a long-term issue, and there's a lot of investment in this space. But when you get to our products are stored at 20 below zero, it's even more intelligent.
Exactly. Yeah, it's keeping 20 below zero in a large facility is just hugely expensive, and you have to really optimize it.
Correct, and then there's a small energy crisis that's been going on this year, and inflation, and a lot of moving parts too.
So where I'm from in South Africa, we're having rolling blackouts at the moment, and you can imagine keeping a facility at minus 20 when you have rolling blackouts. The cost just ramps up because of the cost of diesel, and now we're seeing shortages in diesel. It's incredible.
And actually, we do a lot of business in Florida, but there isn't a big processing community, or Los Angeles, because even before the crisis of this year, the amount of energy they would have to spend, when we're working in our rooms, it's 38 degrees, 40 degrees when we're cutting meat. Yeah. To run that all year in a 90-degree environment is cost prohibitive.
Yes. So apart from space and the challenges of keeping something like that cool, how are you finding the people issue? Are you finding it difficult to find good people?
So I hear that a lot, okay, and I hear that from the warehousing, and I hear that thing, and I think we have a certain culture that spent a long time in creating. And I think, look, I come from Wall Street, a supply-demand world, and I think people are not robots. And we are at 43-year highs of inflation. So if you looked at a person as a robot that they made $15 an hour, and you're complaining that your supply chain costs are too much, what do you think it feels like for them when their rent has gone from $1,500 to $2,500 a month? How do you deal with that, and how are they supposed to make that? So I find in working with restaurants and private chefs, the ones that are actually caring for their people aren't having any trouble getting people. And that's why even in the restaurant, the whole tipping, it would be another 15-minute discussion by my part. It's an unusual concept that you're pushing on the customer to take care of that. Like, I've lived in Europe, I've been to Asia. In Japan, if you give someone a tip, they're insulted.
Exactly.
They're insulted for that. So I think that there is issues, but I think there are issues, but you have to take care of your people first and foremost if you want to have good. And the last point, just to finish the rant, you can't say there's supply chain problems, but then issue record profits and dividends, right? And so then there's something that mathematically is not correct there.
See, this is where the Wall Street news is coming out, and you're 100% correct. In an industry like in Wall Street, where people change jobs all the time,
right?
The secret is to keep your people and to look after your people. And the average warehouse, they're just trying to shave the costs all over the place, and they're not realizing that the people costs are real. Pay the people well, build a good culture, and
what's the motivation for them to do this in the longer term too? Being educated, having health care, these are critical components.
What is your view on automation in the warehouse? And obviously some people are trying to do it because they're going to reduce cost of people, but that's not necessarily the case. What you actually want is more capacity with the same organization.
So my thing of automation is you push it to the max and you retrain the people to use the automation in the way that you can. So in a former life, I used to trade billions of dollars, and back then they didn't have the technology of this. So everything, there was a big emphasis on not double touching information and products and things like that. So anytime people have tried to stop automation as a way of maintaining the past, in my short lifetime or longer lifetime, I've never seen that happen. When I lived in Brussels and Uber came around and they tried to legalize or abolish Uber, instead of upping the quality of the taxi service or having cleaner things, ultimately they lost because you need good service and stuff like that. In our thing, we just printed, it got delivered today, like a fortune of new stickers for our products, where I put QR codes that people could go on and go right to our channel and see the recipes, the products, and then I put in barcodes for the warehouse for inventory management.
Right.
The warehouse has no idea how to do barcode inventory management, so I'm in effect teaching them the technology so that when our website and their inventory system are always reconciled automatically. So if I don't see the technology that I like, even if it's not my business, I'll build it. And then that's why the warehouse loves me as a client, because what they learn from me, they'll apply to 20 other clients. And people that do the same thing the last 20 years in general are afraid of change, and I'm the exact opposite. It's torture to do the exact same thing.
Exactly. Do you, so have you applied barcoding technology in the warehouse at the moment?
So we just got the stickers delivered today. They have the barcoding, so we're set on our side for the processing, and now I'm working on implementing the barcoding technology for the warehouse.
So what is your plan there? Are you actually developing a solution with your own team? Or?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So if you have solutions or people that you work with in that space, I'm not the only one that's doing inventory management in a warehouse, but I just felt like I wanted this tool because having a manual environment and an automated environment is a recipe for disaster.
So one of the things that we intend doing with the show is actually coming into the warehouse and walking around to see what those challenges are and how the systems can apply. These systems are fantastic in solving some of the issues around things like expiry dates and batch management. But as you rightly say, it comes down to teaching the people how to use it. And if you don't walk through the warehouse, if you don't understand the warehouse environment, you're never going to get it right.
And we have actually two components of the warehouse. We have the short-term area for fulfilling orders, and then we have back stock that replenishes those. So anything that we could use that helps technology, and I don't feel it's zero sum, like, okay, this technology is going to replace people. At the end of the day, in a warehouse, someone has to pick it, or Amazon wouldn't have a few 100,000 employees.
You want to improve your accuracy, and you want to improve the velocity or the throughput of your operation.
And the error rate to be almost zero.
Correct, and error rate. So you're not trying to reduce people,
no.
You're trying to optimize the operation and the processes.
Correct. We're getting ready to scale so we could do many more orders of the same capacity and still get that out.
And in fact, we've, I've had some really interesting discussions around the fact that companies are growing dramatically in this industry. Even though people are saying we're going into this time of inflation, we're going into these times that are supposed to be hard times and recessions and things like that, but people I'm speaking to are growing their businesses. So we see not issues where people want to get rid of people, but we're seeing things where they need to get extra capacity, they need to get growth, and they've got space constraints. And
what happened when, just look at all the issues that automation threatened. ATM machines, right? People go, what happened to the tellers? There was no net losses at the banks for that as well, right? Coal, as much as, I feel the people are in coal country, they're going to run solar and wind plants. That's what they're going to do. So trying to make a backward solution to change something is never going to be the answer, but the question is, how do you retool, and how do you be more efficient, and how do you perfection? And I'm obsessed with getting that perfection.
That's fantastic. And you can see that comes through from your past.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I've tried to take all my experiences and apply it to this project.
Oh, well done.
Well, we're in early days, but...
well, I look forward to staying in contact with you.
Thank you very much.
It's going to be really interesting. And I'd love to come and see your operation at some point.
That'd be great.
The warehouse. The excitement for me is being in the warehouse. I want to see what's going on and what the guys are doing, what they're doing with their racking, what they're doing with their processes.
So with all your experience, I bring one recommendation.
Yeah.
Bring a heavy coat.
I've been in those cold stores.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, Elliot.